All right, this is what, take 10. It's been longer than yesterday, but this is gonna be the final video because I actually literally do not have time now. Like before, when I said I didn't have time, I still had time, but now I don't. So I don't have a choice. But yes, so I was able to put an image over the video file. So for today's video, I'll do the same thing. Just like I guess I differentiate the images. So like I would add more images, and images would be related to the topic. So yeah, I think this video is, I'm going to try and keep this video short, like 15 to 20 minutes, but so I know I said I'd talk about the plot and story of season 2 today, but I've actually changed my mind. I want to talk about like sort of what made season 2 good, because they didn't really talk about that in yesterday's video. I sort of danced around the subject, but in yesterday's video I mainly compared season 1 to 2. So like, for example, I talked about what caused people to like, what attracted people to the show to begin with, and then what caused them to stick with it, and I talked about how they changed that in season 2. So like, the main thing that caused people to stick with season 1 was, I guess, the love square, and how they basically dissolved that in season 2, and instead they sort of replaced it with Gabriel's newfound relationship with his son as his character grows. But yeah, so for season 2, there's like, I'm only, pretty much only talked about two things, but there's lots of things that made season 2 good. Like if I'd rate season 1 on a scale of like 1 to 10, it'd be a 5. I'd rate season 2 like an 8. Yeah, I'd say that. But anyway, so I'm just gonna start now. Hopefully get this done soon. So in the future, I'm definitely going, I won't write a script, but I'll have like an outline of what I want to talk about, rather than just like try and do it, because I should have learned this from yesterday's video, but now I've wasted a ton of time talking and I don't really want to talk. So this should be a short video, but this is more like tomorrow's video would definitely be longer, but because I don't really have to limit myself to what I'm talking about, because I'll basically go as much as in depth as I can in terms of season 2. But I'll just have to make sure I don't repeat myself and like stumble on my words. But anyway, so one of the things that made season 2, I'm gonna go in order, by the way, because like it's 25 episode long season, so things happen at different parts of that of the season. So I'm gonna go in chronological order between what was, I guess, or I guess what was, from what was first, or what I remember being first shown, that what I thought was good changed for season 2, to the last thing that was changed. So the first thing was, or I guess this is two parts, but the first thing was, I already talked about this yesterday, but the reveal of Gabriel as Hawkmoth. Now this was definitely good, because obviously I talked about how it allowed room for growth as a character, but this also allows the story to progress forward. I kind of stayed away from the story, but it allows essentially us to treat both of them as one character rather than, separate characters. Because if they kept Hawkmoth hidden, if they never revealed his identity, then it probably would have just been the same as season 1, because we wouldn't have had character growth for them, and it just would have been him akumatizing random people for the whole season again. But yeah, so that was definitely good, revealing Gabriel as Hawkmoth. The second was revealing that Natalie actually knows Gabriel's Hawkmoth. This was revealed in the very first episode, actually. But I didn't really figure it out until later in the season, and it doesn't really have much meaning until later in the season. But I'm going to talk about this later, but it allows her character to grow as well. Because by her knowing that Gabriel's Hawkmoth, it allows her to interact with Gabriel's character rather than his persona. Because, like I said before, his character is split up into two personas, Gabriel's persona and Hawkmoth's persona. But him as a character is a combination of the two, and his character has room for growth. And by her being able to interact with his character rather than just his persona like everyone else, it allows her to grow as a character as well, which is definitely a plus. Character growth is always a plus. So her knowing Gabriel is indeed Hawkmoth is definitely a good addition to the story. All right, the next would be the new Miraculous, I guess. Yeah, I think there might not be Miraculous, but the introduction of new Kwamis, because like before there was only 7. It was the Ladybug, Black Cat, Butterfly, Peacock, Turtle, Fox, and Bee Miraculous. And even then, even though there were 7, we basically knew what purpose they served in the story. Like, Obviously, Marinette, Adrian, and Hawkmoth had their Miraculous, and those won't ever really be taken away from them. Or I guess not until the very end, but they basically, their Miraculous belongs to them. And then same with I guess the Peacock Miraculous. We didn't know where it was, so or we knew that it was missing, so we knew that it won't really be implemented into the story until like, or at least for the entirety of season one, we knew it basically wouldn't be anywhere in the story. And then also same with the Miraculous card, we knew that his wouldn't be implemented at all, or at the very least for season one, because I mean he had his Miraculous the whole time, and the reason why he in fact gave the Miraculous to Marinette and Adrian was because he himself couldn't fight Hawkmoth, so we knew his Miraculous was just going to be with him. The Fox Miraculous was interesting because we saw the powers of the Fox Miraculous in Volpina, but we actually never saw her her, I guess, what do you call it? We never saw the Miraculous itself in action. We just saw the powers that it could have. And the only one that was sort of like had, I guess, room for growth would be the B Miraculous. Or no, not even room for growth, because this is actually, it actually had the opposite. The only one that had no, like, I guess, meaning or purpose in the story at all was the B Miraculous. And I mean, that covers all 7 of those Miraculous. But with the introduction of new Miraculous and new Kwamis, like, there's more than we can count now. Like, we saw in the one episode, I think it was the Sand Boy, where, like, basically there were too many Kwamis to count. And we actually saw the inside of the box, which is very interesting. I'll probably talk about that later in tomorrow's episode, but yeah, just by showing us that there's many more Miraculous that can ever be used, it allows for potential, like, it basically gives the story the potential to use them whenever it wants, and story potential and, like, flexibility. And it even gives, like, maybe even room for growth for the old Miraculous. Those can be used to help. But, yeah. Definitely just showing how many Miraculous and Kwamis there are is definitely a plus. It allows them to potentially be used in the future and potentially, I guess, affect our current Miraculous holders. Or the current Miraculous we know in a way. But this sort of leads into the next one, which would definitely be essentially the usage of more Miraculous. And what I mean by this is Ladybug and Chat Noir giving Miraculous to people who they want to fight alongside them. Because now this is a definitely plus. Probably one of the bigger pluses, because it allows for character growth for both Ladybug and Chat Noir, because they have to pick someone out who they are trusting enough to not only give them back the Miraculous, but also competently fight alongside them. But also the person receiving it even more so, because they know that they're being trusted, and that they're trusted not only to give them back, but they're also given the opportunity to fight alongside Paris' superheroes. And definitely this, even though it's only been used with characters we already know, it could be used to introduce new characters in the future potentially. So yeah, definitely character growth, definitely a plus. So the introduction, I guess, or the usage of new Miraculous is definitely a plus. And also these 2 points, this leads into the next point that I want to talk about. Because that also, this sort of shows that Ladybug and Chat Noir, they can't do everything on their own. They sometimes need other people to help them. They're not like or I guess, what am I trying to say? They're not all powerful or absolute in a way where they themselves can solve every single problem. They have their own weaknesses, and they sometimes need help solving a problem that they themselves can't solve. I think that's a solid explanation. And this ties into the next point I'm going to make, which is the introduction of, like, the new forms of the Ladybug and Black Cat Miraculous. Although they only showed 2 so far, which was, like, the water one and the ice one, these forms show that, like, even, like, so these forms are good because it shows that not only, it starts to show why the Ladybug and Black Cat Miraculous are special, because I don't think AR Miraculous can do this, because we know that those 2 are the most powerful Miraculous, but we never really saw why until, I guess, now this is the first example of that. But also it shows that the base form of the Miraculous, I guess, is not all powerful. Like, it can't solve all of the problems on its own. And this is more so about the Miraculous itself rather than the characters. Because I think that if you had, like, an extremely smart person, like, sort of like Hawkmoth at the end of Season 2, if you had, like, a Hawkmoth in control of the Ladybug and Black Cat Miraculous, they probably could have solved most of the Akumas on their own. They might have not needed to go, or to they might have not needed to rely on recruiting another uh, Miraculous in order to help them fight. But this is more so with the Miraculous itself. It shows that even, like, despite whatever flaws a person may have, if you have a perfect person, the base Miraculous still can't solve all the problems on its own. So, yeah, I think I differentiated that enough. But anyway, the next part would... What was the next part? Oh, yeah, the next part is definitely... This is more so in relation to Hawkmoth rather than Gabriel. But also his, like, basically his character. And I'm actually talking about his persona here because, like I said, Gabriel's character changed the persona of both Gabriel and Hawkmoth. But Gabriel's persona doesn't really have much impact on the story rather than him interacting with his son and him maybe doing a fashion show or two. But Hawkmoth's persona has a big impact on the story. At least now it does. Before, he just sort of did the same thing every time. But now we know that he's not only an opportunist, but he's also, like, I guess, somewhat intelligent. Because, like, during the, I guess, some of the earlier episodes of season 2, it was shown that, like, he would take advantage of situations. Like, he would, rather than just let his Akuma do whatever they want and him sort of coming in to support them every now and then, he would actually sort of, like, order them, I guess. If he saw an opportunity, he would, I guess, tell them to take it. Or I guess in some case scenarios, it's like let go of an opportunity. For example, when his son's falling off the building, he tells the Akuma to let go of Ladybug despite him having her. So yeah, it just shows that, like, he's more so, I guess, what would that really show? It shows he's more willing to act, I guess, in a way, or he's more willing to, I guess, control the situation rather than just him akumatizing someone insane back for the whole episode. But even besides that, it shows that, and this is more so in relation, he's also an opportunist in setting up Miraculouses to akumatize. Like, for example, and this is not in talking about 2 episodes, he specifically set it up so that Mrs. Bourgeois would get akumatized, and that was ultimately supposed to be the last Akuma that would let him defeat Ladybug and Chat Noir, which ultimately didn't work out. But then that also led to Chloe gain the Bee Miraculous and lead to him being able to akumatize her. So, in a way, by specifically causing someone to be in an emotional state where they could get akumatized, he basically got to akumatize one of his most powerful victims and someone who was already a Miraculous holder, or who was already transformed even to be akumatized. And that's, like, definitely unique. It'll probably happen again, and it's already happened within the season, but it might happen again just on its own for their own episode rather than just the finale. But also for the finale, it shows that all these Akumas that he's been sending out has not been for just, I guess, not been, what would you call it, for nothing. It was all leading up to a moment. He wasn't just a useless, incompetent villain. Everything he's done from the very beginning has led up to this point in time. And yes, it's a very complicated plan. There's many, many layers of it. In the first, it starts with, well, not only him akumatizing us, not only him causing someone to be in a state where he could akumatize them, but not only that, he knew what powers he wanted for his grander plan. So he specifically caused the individual Alila to become in a state where she could get akumatized because he wanted her powers as an akumatized victim. So he did that, and then he allowed her to create a scenario which would allow everyone to become in a distressed state, so he could akumatize everyone. But even before that, how he needed to akumatize his assistant, Natalie, and basically how he, at some point, had to reveal he was Hawkmoth to her. That's the revelation, that basically Gabriel... Natalie, it wasn't shown that she was there from the beginning, but at some point off screen, Gabriel had to reveal he was Hawkmoth in hopes that, or well, I guess not even in hopes, but knowing that she would not only accept him, but also help him at this very moment for his final plan. And obviously, she did, and she increased his power and allowed him to akumatize the whole city, which I'm not going to go into further detail because I'll talk about that in the plot. But basically, showing that Hawkmoth is actually a competent villain rather than just some sort of annoyance. Because you definitely need a villain in a story. You can't just have someone who's like a minor annoyance to the main characters, because then it doesn't feel like much is on the line. But knowing that Hawkmoth is a competent villain now, that's definitely an improvement, because we know that he might actually deal some damage in the future. And he's already dealt damage now, but we know that he is not someone to be messed with, and that despite, I guess, what may have seemed to be incompetence in the past, the knowing that basically everything has led up to that very moment. Everything he has done has had a purpose. But yeah, I think that's all, really. What did I talk about? I talked about the revealing of Gabriel's Hawkmoth, the reveal that Natalie knows Gabriel's Hawkmoth, the new Miraculous, the introduction of the usage of other Miraculous, of the usage of the old Miraculous, the new forms of the Ladybug and Black Cat Miraculous, and then basically Hawkmoth is a villain. Yeah, I think those are like the main 6 points that, or I guess the new 6 additions that cause Season 2 to be great, or at least that, I guess, were good additions to Season 2. Even though Hawkmoth was always a villain, really, like, he was just sort of there. Like, now he actually truly feels like a villain. Unlike Gabriel, who's always had a relationship with his son, and now his relationship with son just has more meaning to it. Now he feels like a complete different person, Hawkmoth, pretty much. Now that I guess he's growing as a character as Gabriel. But anyway, I'm gonna end it there. It was a short video, but I think I talked about a lot. I tried to be as vague and I tried to be as broad as possible in talking about these topics, because I'm going to go into specifics in the next part. Or I guess next episode, because I mean, I could make this a part series, but nah. I'm just going to make each episode a different title, because I might, in Season 3, talk about something, but anyway. So, tomorrow's video will be about the plot and story of Season 2, and then the video after will be Season 3 predictions, and then after that, I'll finally be able to watch Episode 1 of Season 3, and then after that, I'll predict basically the ending. In Season 3, I'm not going to go into detail the ending, but I'm basically going to say whether events lead to I'm going to say what I think will be incorporated, what I think will be... Well, first I'll say what I think will be changed. Then I'll say what I think will be incorporated, and then I guess how it'll end. Because I'm just going to assume Season 3 is the end. I'm not going to... If Season 3 isn't the end, there's no point trying to predict an ending for Season 4 when we don't even have the entirety of Season 3, so... Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to end it here. And then once all this is done, I'll get back to New Eyes. I might not even be able to start a new mod after New Eyes. You know what? No, I'll have time. I still have plenty of time, so I'll do that eventually. So, yep. I guess that's it for today. Tomorrow it is then.